To our channel, where we have an absolutely unscripted build. We don't know what we're doing from week to week. We have no idea if we're even going to make it out of the desert. But if we do, we plan on having some pretty awesome adventures, and we want you guys along for the ride. This is Salvage 1 Bus Life Adventures. Welcome to another episode of Salvage 1 Bus Life Adventures. Alrighty, as you can see, we got a really big box here. It's a lot bigger than I was expecting, that's for sure. I guess I was about to tell you, we got a dinghy for the bus. And for those of you who are not familiar with that kind of concept, there is that you have especially those guys with the big 40-foot buses, because we got a swinging low, and so we got the biggest bus you could possibly get. But the downside of that is once you get to where you're going, you are limited to the access. Like when you go to a town or a city, you can't pull into every parking lot or restaurants or any place like that you want to go. So you can park on the outskirts, like a starship circling a planet, and then you get into your dinghy, aka shuttlecraft, and you go into where you want to go. And that's the concept of this. And I guess we should probably open it up so you can see. You may or may not see what it is in the title. It just depends on how I title this thing. And you may or may not like it, but that's not up to you. That's up to me. I just hope that you think that it's a cool idea. Again, this box is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. So,
well, maybe it's just all packing material.
I hope so. I hope that means that there's a lot of protection in there.
Is there weight to it?
Yeah, the whole thing weighs about 80 pounds, roughly. Now, if you want to come in here and just take a look at what it looks like here in the middle, or inside here. So this is what you get. So it comes with tools, assembly tools, so that's pretty cool. And so far, I'm not seeing anything damaged. There's a hole in the side here, but it went in right between here and this padded area, so that's cool. Nothing appears to have been damaged. So let's get some of the tools out. So these are your 10-piece hex key rings. So this will be great for later. Put it in the toolbox after I'm done, and I can use this for other stuff. And what else is in this box? It looks like we got more tools. Oh, we got the pedals. Oh, that's pretty cool. Now, that's kind of cool designs and stuff they got in there. And we'll delve into that later when we get into that part of the stuff. What is this? This looks like the controller or the plug-in. This might be the charger and cable. Yes, lithium ion battery charger, user manual. What's underneath? Alrighty, the name gave it away. We have the FREEGO EV DK200. It's got a 1200 watt rear hub motor, and I believe this is a 48 by 13 volt or 17 volt battery. I have to go into the paperwork on it and see for sure, but that should allow you close to, I believe it's 1,000 watts of power to the 1200 watt motor, and you can get a bigger battery with more juice. So you can make full use of a controller. I believe the controller can handle 1200 watts, but the battery is only good for maybe 1,000 watts. So what do we got here?
So you couldn't go much bigger.
Right, yeah, unless you change the controller. Like again, if the controller is rated for 1200, then I can go for a bigger battery and use all 1200, which would be nice. And there's other little things you got to get in, use a code to get rid of the speed limiting and all that stuff, because these things sold in Europe under different brand names are restricted to the power output. Here in America, they're not. So we can crank them up as far as we want when we go to town. Whereas in Europe, they're restricted to, I believe, 15. It's either 15 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour or something like that.
So they don't have this preset to whatever region they're selling to?
No, they set it how to wherever most of the countries are, because they sell it all over the world. And then you get it, and you can go in, and it's your responsibility. They take no responsibility for anything.
Okay.
You go in, and you can change it based on where you live. And you're
So
supposed
it's
to
basically they find the most restrictive area and set it to that, and then all their
Correct.
bikes go to that restriction.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
And then you go in and unrestricted.
Yes. And I believe they don't supply the code in the paperwork. You have to actually call the person you bought it from, the distributor or the home company, and they will tell you the code. You got to go into the little computer and change it off. And they do not accept any responsibility. These changes are totally based on whether you can legally do it or not. So it's up to you to stick with your laws.
The laws of your region.
Yep. And so far it looks pretty cool. I'm not seeing any damage. It looks like it's like 80% assembled. This rear fender kind of looks a little hokey as far as quality. But let's see. Alright. Yeah, this is attached by cables. There's another front fender with the tire, so you gotta unhook that. Alright, this is all kind of wedged in there all different ways. Alrighty, I think let's try and cut open the side of the box here. Alright, there it is. In all its glory. We've got a headlight, front tire, rest of the bike. We have our tire loose. That's a big old honker tire, and it's already filled with air, so that's cool. They believe these take 35 to 40 pounds of air. And they're 4-inch, 20-inch, 4-inch wide, 20-inch wheel. That's cool. And for anybody asking or thinking, these things are rated weight-wise on the distributor's website. They're rated for 330 pounds weight capacity. On the manufacturer's website, they're rated at 400 pounds. So, we will see. Kind of flimsy. It's a plastic fender. Not really thrilled with that. I may run it without the fenders. There's another guy on the internet who has one of these. These are kind of rare, this particular model. There's different versions, all made on the same platform, but they have different names on them. And these are kind of the rarer ones. But another guy does have one, he posts on the internet, and he has a trailer he mounted to the back, and he uses it to carry supplies in, or he carries a dog in the back. So you can put a trailer on these things and make it useful, which is my intent. This will be my grocery getter and things like that, or I will go into town and go to restaurants or whatever. Just recently they did a ranking for the top 5 electric mopeds of 2021, and this guy ranked number 3, but he was behind similar frames, but they had a front and a rear hub. So they had a dual motor. The top 2 had dual motors, and then this guy was the first one that was the single motor. So he was number 3 in the listing, and I think that's pretty cool. I didn't know that when I got this. I found that out after when I placed the order for this. This also showed up a week early, which is kind of cool. Two weeks early. Sorry about that. Alrighty, so I think we're almost to the point where we're gonna have to lift up the front end of this thing and put it on the front tire. Alright, so this is the part where we thought we'd just be able to slip it off and get it all done, but not being expert on bike assembly, I'm assuming it's going to go like this. These come out to here. This is a thing that helps hold it in place with the forks. And you slip it onto the forks, put that into its little slot, and then you crank these down. But to verify that, I want to get the directions to make sure. I thought that there was a rod that went through the center that this rode on, but it's not. It looks like it clamps on with these things.
Well, there is a rod. It's just there's bolts on it, so you have to take it out and then put it in.
Well, I think the forks, that thing comes out, and then it's just forks that come down, and the forks go on here, and then you tighten it down.
Oh, like regular bicycle.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm assuming. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Alrighty, so let's go back to doing that. I'm gonna pick this up, turn it up on its side, on its back tire, and he's gonna mount the front tire. So let's go do that. Alright, let's put it down. I can tighten it up a bit later. Alright. Alrighty, so if you want to put that front fender on, these are the mounting points. This all has to come out. This is where I need the little tools for.
Man, that's pretty tall. It's a lot taller than I thought it would be.
Yep. We had a back and forth debate about whether we would actually fit on these things. And I was looking at the stuff and it was saying 42-inch seat height. So I'm thinking that's more than enough. I got a 32-inch inseam. That's 10 inches taller than the inseam, so this should be fine. Height-wise, it might be a little hard when you're pedaling because your knees have to come all the way up, but I don't plan on doing a lot of pedaling on this thing. This is going to be, straight throttle most of the time, if not all the time. And that should be perfectly fine. So yeah, it's definitely a lot bigger than you envision it. When I saw the box, I was like, holy cow. And I knew it would be disassembled in the box. Just not how far down. And yeah, so yeah, it's definitely a lot bigger than you think. It's heavy, it's about 75, 80 pounds. So that's
And this is what you ordered. This is exactly what you ordered.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I had 10 different things in mind that I was going to order, and this ended up being what I went with. Since then, I've seen other models that are even, I think, cooler.
But you already blew the money on this one.
I already blew all the money I had on this one, yeah, so. I think this was the best deal for the money. And it ticked off all the boxes. There's definitely, again, there's two more ones that are more powerful. But again, after we ride this, we'll see if that's really needed. And if I plan on going everywhere at 60, 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, but if you have to park an hour outside of town because that's the closest free parking.
You want to have juice to get back home.
You want to need to be able to do.
Yeah, it does me no good to get there at 65 miles an hour and then have a dead battery, and then I got to wait 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours to get back home.
Yeah, what is the charging length on this?
Depends on the source that you're charging from. I believe the average is the very first charge they want 6 to 8 hours, and then depending on how far you run down the battery, when you go to charge it again, it'll be roughly 4 hours per recharge.
Now, do they recommend running this all the way out or down to 20%?
I think they say 20%. Try not to go beyond 20% too often because you kill the life of the battery. Even though it's lithium ion, you could technically run it down to 0. you will, shorten the life of the battery doing that all the time. All right, so they give you handy dandy knurls and little spots here, so you know where to put it on here. And again, you got to undo all this with the bolts, the little tools that it comes with, and you put that in there and get it all ready. So that's what I got to do now. All right, so we went and got a chair because bending over here is sucky when you're old. So here are more instructions, assembly instructions, and husky. All right, so here is the directions. Let's see if I screwed the pooch and went out of order on things. So they give you the user's manual. Read this completely before riding your electric bike.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of pages, so in 8 hours you should be good.
Right? I'm just wondering, I make sure I didn't mess up with the assembly in any way, that I put something out of order. Specifications, it's a 1200 watt brushless rear motor. It's a 48 by 20 amp, so that's close to almost 1,000 watts. I think that's like the 896 or 900 and something.
So, I mean, is that what you ordered, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, the battery, it's a 1200 watt motor. The controller, doesn't say anything about the controller. I'm assuming the controller can handle 1200 watts. It's just the battery only is a 48 by 20 amp. So I could probably go up to a 52 by 20 amp and I'd be fine. I'd be right at the 1200 mark. Charge time 6 to 8 hours on your initial charge. Top speed is 45 kilometers. That's what it's set at from the factory. You can go more than that. And I believe 45 is like 23 miles per hour. 45 kilometers is 23 miles per hour. Range, that setting is 60 kilometers, so roughly 28, 30 miles. Something like that.
So, interesting fact, depending on where you live, there may be laws against an electric bike going faster than a certain mile per hour, so find out. Don't just listen to us and do this stuff. Find out what the laws are in your area.
Yeah, some states and some even some counties and towns inside a state, the state may say that there's no restriction on them at all and you can do whatever you want, but then a city or a town may have a city ordinance that restricts where you can ride it or how you can ride it. So make sure you check out your town. As it is right now federally and in most states, there's no restrictions on these, whether you ride it on the street or the sidewalk, how fast you can go or anything like that. It hasn't been tackled federally yet or anything. So get something like this now and get yourself grandfathered in if you ever intend on getting a electric moped or electric motorcycle, electric bicycle. Get them now before they start throwing a bunch of laws in the works that causes restrictions.
Yeah, they create all these laws that say you have to go electric, and then they create restricting laws
so that you can't use it.
So you can't use it.
I figured that one out. All right, so yeah, it's cool that they give you a little step-by-step instructions on how to do everything. So that's neat. All right, so I didn't really mess anything up yet, but let's not waddle. We would just want to show you how it comes out of the box. We don't want to fast forward over anything and not give you all the information, because it's definitely, it's built rugged. I love this. Look at all this aluminum.
Yeah, I just touched it, and it's like, that's heavy duty, man.
Yeah.
I mean, those fenders are cheap.
Yeah.
You're probably not even going to use them, right?
They're cheap plastic, and the more I look at them, the less I feel inclined to use them.
But that frame is super rigid, tough.
And the wheels are light. I mean, these are probably aluminum. I was hoping to get the plastic ring star.
Yeah, like a star rim.
Right, but
like an old school BMX.
Right. But I guess the downside to these types of wheels is that over time, as you use them, you got to adjust them. You got the little fork adjustment tools, and you got to even them back out if the tire gets all wobbly. Whereas if you have the plastic poly ones with the poly inserts, star inserts, you never have to adjust them. They're never going to flex and move. If they do, it's because it's broken, and you got to get a whole new one. All right, so where are we at? Let's find the wrench that works this way. Look at that, right on the first try, I got it. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. So we're gonna unhook these. You want to come over and show that, or should I turn this some way that you can see that? Okay, guess I didn't get the right one for some reason. Fit in there, now it doesn't. Oh, that's too big.
the one, but it's sloppy as hell in there. Yeah, that one's stripping out. But look at the end of that. The end of that is all stripped out and messed up. So that's why it's not turning. So you got to try and use this end. Hopefully you have enough turning force with your fingers.
So that's right out of the box like that.
Right out of the box like that. Alrighty, so that blows. Because you can't get any leverage like this. I need like a wrench or something. Let's see.
So you need more tools to use the tools.
To use the tools they gave me, right. Well, let's see what's on this. No, that won't work. Well, that blows. So this whole thing is rounded off on the end. I think they use this to put it together. Get it to this point at the factory and then send it off to you.
Yeah, I can't.
Your hands are blocking everything, so
I'll just go back to where I was.
Alright, well, this thing is stripped on the end. And you can actually see where it's rounded off.
Yeah.
And that came out of the package like that. So now I need to get a pair of pliers. I'll be right back. Just not working. Okay, keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. We're here to document the failures as well as the successes.
So is it just spinning inside the nut?
Yeah, it's not allowing me to turn it or spin it or anything. I mean, it's starting to spin, like strip out the nut, and I'm trying to avoid that. So they use something else, maybe. Maybe they didn't use this, but this is rounded out on the end that you're supposed to use. You can tell it's rounded out. I just don't know how you're supposed to take these off without the... You can even see in here, I haven't even touched this one, and you can see that there's little metal burrs, so they rounded that one out too while they were putting that on. I'm thinking they maybe used a little electric to do it.
Right.
And they just stripped it out, putting it together.
Yeah, but the tools are broken, so...
This one tool is stripped out here, so I don't know. That's weird.
Well, you know what the definition of insane is? Keep doing the same thing over and over.
I'm just
until
hoping one of these will work.
That's it, with the hopes that it'll work. The outcome will be different.
Yeah, they're all starting to strip out, so it looks like we're kind of stalled right now. I can't even get the handlebars on because these are all rounded out.
So is it a trip to Harbor Freight or something?
Yeah, well, not only that, but I'm going to have to get at least four new screws of this type and this size to replace these because I can't use these. And I may have to replace this one too because this already looks stripped out. I can't see the one on the other side. And then if I use the fenders, I'm going to need the little bolts to replace those down there.
If they're not somewhere else in the packaging.
Actually, I'm looking on the inside of the frame, and there's bolts. There's another hole that goes. That may be for a sensor though, a speed sensor. So we'll have to see. But I think the missing bolts are in holes on the inside of that frame, which is kind of goofy. So. Okay, well, I think we're kind of stumped right now because I can't get these off with the tools that are supplied. Alrighty, I don't think this will work because these are stars, but let's see if any of these on one of the sets I own would work in there. Maybe grip a little better. Let's try this one and see if it works first. Too big. Let's try this guy. Too big. Let's try this guy. There we go. Alright, so we've got to keep this set with the tools for this because those things don't work. So let's keep track of these right here. Let's see if they'll all work. That bites in there. Alrighty. So yeah, the Allen key set that they send with the bike blows, especially when they strip the things out at the factory when they install it. So I have one of these stars from Husky, star Allen keys, and they are the right size, and they go in and they bite. Thought for sure we were done for the day early, but said, hey, let's give it a shot and see if it'll work. Ta-da!
Good old American ingenuity.
If we'd left this up to the French, they would have given up and went home.
They would have just said, Vive la
Vive la hell with it.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie. Just
C'est la vie.
Just gone home. Going home to make croissants.
Croissants and wine.
So we want to make sure we have enough turning radius. We have enough wire to make turns. Kind of like that angle for now, so let's at least get that started. It's the point where you need 4 hands. Got it at the camera, you're seeing that? Not missing anything. Make sure these are centered. Does that look centered?
I have no idea. Look at the...
Well, let's at least get it started, then we can move it around and adjust it as needed.
So another recommendation when you're doing stuff like this, wear shirts with pockets so you can put bolts in your shirt.
Just have a henchman. Don't do everything on your own. Have a henchman to help you.
On the same bolt?
Yep, they both share the same bolt.
Alright.
This is a, looks like it's a multi bracket used for multi applications. So some of the guys that have the post mounted there, this would go on a screw there, and then you would adjust it up and down and tighten it as needed. But here, this goes here. So this again goes to the fact that there's 10 different manufacturers who all make this style of bike, and everybody has little tiny things that they do different. And on this one, they give you a headlight that fits all those type of bikes. So whatever application you do, this will fit it. So you can have 2 screws that hold it on here. You can have 1 screw that holds it on here. You can have 1 screw there that holds it on the down tube, on the forks. So it just depends. So in this make, it goes here, and that's gonna suck because you have to tighten that thing down really hard to keep this from tilting.
So where are the 2 bolts on the 2 bolt holes on either side? Where do they go?
If there was a mounting point where you had 2 to 3 crossed here, that's where they go. This only has 1 single mounting point. For
so
this
are there zip ties in your future?
No, I'm just gonna have to crank it down tight enough for it to not move.
Okay.
And then I have to decide if I want the fender. I think I kind of dig the fender for right now. We'll see. So let's pull this bad boy back out. Fender's gonna fall the moment I do. It's like an erector set. You got to do everything in stages. So first you put the washer on. Then you put the washer through the mounting hole. Then you put the fender loop on. And then you put it into the hole. The screw into the hole.
And then you start sounding like Quinn from Jaws.
Fair to adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Alrighty.
I had more along the lines of the rabbit goes into the hole, then the rabbit comes
out of the hole.
Then the rabbit goes around the tree and then goes back into the hole.
You'll get it, Brody.
Next time you want to know what not to pull, you
ask me. Alright, for you, those of you, Jaws, best movie ever made. Even though the director has turned into a bit of a communist. The movie itself is awesome. Back in the days before everybody went crazy.
So just in case of a lot of this stuff has hit the editing floor by the time we reach this point, he's now mounting the headlight with the fender onto the bike frame. And since we don't have a wrench that fits the back, we're using the
universal tool of awesomeness.
Universal tool of awesomeness.
Yep, wish I had a workbench. Wish production value would allow something like that.
Yeah.
So I think I should have it pointed down so I can see rocks or anything directly in front of me. How do you think that?
It didn't work on the bus, so you probably should.
It didn't work on the bus. That's true.
That idea did not.
You'll see that in another episode. Okay. Again, all this stuff will need final adjustment once you're riding and see what everything looks like or goes. Like, I don't like how this wire drapes. It can easily get caught down around the forks and cause a problem. Excuse me. Here's the light here, the cable that goes up to the battery, and up here to the light, and it has a potential of getting stuck down around here, getting pinched when the forks are going up and down. So I may take this and zip tie it up to here to help keep it out of the way from this, from getting caught up in all this. And then as we're riding, I'll have to do an adjustment of this light, see where it's showing. May have to tilt it down a little bit, but right now that's what it looks like there. Let me see if this is zoomed in. Yes, there we go. So that could be good right where it's at. I may point it down a little bit just to
Get it out
start
of people's eyes.
Right. Not that I plan on doing a ton of night riding and blinding people, but you never know.
So does this light have a auto? Like, does it turn on automatically? Do you turn it on?
I believe I turn it on with one of the switches up here.
Okay.
There's no.
So it's just not on all the time.
Right. Yeah, you turn it on and off so it doesn't kill the battery. Exactly right.
I'm sure we'll get to those functions later.
All right. So now I'm gonna put these little fender attachments on.
Find the correct size for that. Just do our side. I don't see both sides. Just do my side, he said. People don't need to see it all, he said. Just time lapse to catch all that. Hopefully instead of my butt crack. Well, time lapse is going to hear you going. I'm waiting. Throwing tools down and stuff. And we got more little tiny washers, which I'm sure is going to hit the ground before I can touch it. As almost always happens. Oh man, I caught it. Look at that. Uh-oh. I'm a man. Now does that washer go in between that thing? Or? Goes in front of the bolt. Yeah, okay, so say. So the head doesn't pull through the chintzy little bar. I got the other side in, I'm going to tighten them down. I just want to make sure I have them in. So be careful the stuff's under tension, those bars are. Yeah, so when I was putting the other side in, because this side's already latched down, the other side wanted to send the screw flying, send the little bolt flying, so you got to be careful of that. Take an eye out, or lose it, send it launching into the stratosphere. Another thing, after you ride this for, like, say, a few days, go back over it with all the tools and retighten everything, because they have a tendency to loosen. And then once or twice, once a month, maybe once every 2 months, just get all the tools that you use to assemble this thing and go back over everything, just make sure it's all tight and snug. Chain, I got to get.
Before you start doing some serious riding, you need to get some chain lube. Make sure that chain stays
Lubed
up. You don't want to do that dry, especially out here in this climate where it'll collect dust and stuff right away, and you'll chew those teeth up. You'll be changing out sprockets like crazy. Right.
need to keep them chains moist.
Wasted it. But you want to use dry lube, because if you use a wet lube, you'll attract more and more dust. So you want to use a dry lube so that you don't collect dust. Alright, so it's time to tighten
So
these.
dry lubes would be like the red or blue or liberal tears? Like what?
Liberal tears are definitely moist, wet. You don't want to use those when you're.
They're like a wet blanket.
They attract everything bad, so you don't want that. They're fun to collect, but you don't want to use them. But yeah, you want to use a dry lube out here in the desert. If you were in like Portland or something like that, you would use a wet lube, just because you have an extra barrier to protect against rust. But out here in the desert, you want dry lube because you're battling dust, not weather. Alrighty, so you can't really crank it down too tight because these things have a very loose tolerance. So you want to get an exact fitting socket for that, because these will just, it says it's a number 15, but it's really crappy metal and it just spins right off of there.
Not well machined.
Right, so I'm hoping, well these things are just, they're too soft metal. They're made with the cheapest way possible. So you just got to make sure you use good quality tools. Like I said, I'll go back over this thing before I do any serious riding. I'll probably take it for a test spin out So it won't even fit this bolt on this side. Won't even fit the nut on this side. Just spins right off. Yep, so I need to get a size 15 socket to do this one because it won't grip on there. That blows. All
So
right.
everything's half measure so far.
1 step forward, 2 steps back. Alrighty, I kind of cheated. I didn't have a 15mm socket handy, so I used the trusty pliers. You're not supposed to do that, and I don't highly recommend you don't do that, but I did it. I'll go back over it again later with
But
it.
how many times do you actually use this? You know, like it's all the time. Even though everybody says don't use this for this, don't use it for that, you end up using it 90% of the time.
Exactly, because it's the most handy tool made. So I did manage to crank it down tight enough with this, but you risk marring up the nut doing it. So always have the correct tools handy. Unfortunately, this kit did not provide you with the correct tools, so you have to make do.
So far.
So far, everything didn't work. So, and I'm going to look at the procedures in this book. This is the charger. What are we doing about brakes?
None.
Battery charger, how to use, specifications. Doesn't say anything about brakes, so let's see. I know you got to tighten those little calipers down. I just want to make sure I'm doing it the correct way. That's the charger. Charger. Protection charge battery.
So they're assuming that you already know things about bicycles.
Specification. Yes, I'm just based on this and the lack of overall, because they go over how about the
Charging system in the battery.
stuff, what it's called, then the battery, and everything else you pretty much gotta know. So they're assuming that everybody at this point in their life has built bicycles 100 times. Of course, this will be the first bicycle I ever had with hydraulic brakes. Okay, well, you want to sit on there and give me your opinion of the handlebars? Do they look straight or not?
They do look
Tilted over that way a bit?
tilted this way.
Now the secret to doing these is when you have a wire in this situation, you want to turn the wire to the most possible extreme point that it's going to stretch, and that's how you zip tie it to that point so that it'll never be,
Go past that one.
it'll never, well, just anywhere else you turn it, you never have to worry about it. As long as it makes it to this point, anywhere else is good. Good there, it'll never bind up there, it'll never sag there, it'll never sag there, you're good. And later on, I will get a black zip tie that I have on the bus, and I'll just swap that out. But for now, I didn't want it to get caught up if we're test riding it and rip out. Let me get these real quick while I'm sitting here. Just to make sure they're in and done. Now that we've determined where we want the forks, the handlebars to be.
In relation to the tire and our arms.
Alright, so that should be okay. If you go down off a curb or you hit a big bump, these won't flex or move. These, I feel, snug down pretty good. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to break. This is all aluminum, so I don't want to break anything. So I think that's my gut feeling says they're tightened down enough for now.
Then
Right here, you can put, I believe they make a carry cargo box that bolts here, or you can get a second battery. If you were ever to get a front hub, you would then run the wires from there up back through the frame to this battery.
the front hub motor.
Front hub motor.
Got it.
And then, I don't know if they have the thing where you can make it one controller run both, or if you have to get a whole complete battery, hub, and controller. And then you would mount that here, and then you would have the dual. He was meant to go right into the chain.
And this is a hydraulic line, and it's pressing right against here. So I fully expect, probably got to get some electrical tape and wrap it around there 3 or 4 times, because it's pressing right against this bolt, and over time it's going to work its way through there and pop that hydraulic line. I can already see that coming. Okay, we're up to the pedals now. So, we got the pedals on. I'm going to give one last real official crank to that. Spin that around real quick, just to make sure it's tightened down.
Yeah, I cranked it until I scored the metal, so I know my side's tight.
Alrighty, so next thing now, the only thing left now is to hook the battery up. We got to charge the battery. 6 to 8 hours, it says, for first initial charge. Hey everyone, today we are finally getting to work on the e-bike installation in the dinghy. We're going to clear out the area that it's going to sit in. We're going to get all the little mounting equipment up. I got a bar that comes out of the wall and will grip the frame, and then I got a little tire chock that the front tire will rest in, so when we're driving, the bike is not flopping all over the place and falling over. And then once you get somewhere, you can pull the bike out of the back of the bus and take it wherever it is you got to go. And again, another scorcher today, but we just got to work through it. So let me show you real quick what we're dealing with here. But there it is right there. That's basically the spot it's going to go in. And yeah. So let's get started. Alright, so we kind of want to have room to move it in and out, get it in and out of there. So again, the bed's probably going to have to move forward a little, because I need at least a foot of room in the back so I can get the tire out of the chock that I'm going to mount in the front. And then right about here, there's going to be a claw that comes out that's going to grip the frame, and that's what we're going to do. Gotta find the cell tapping screws. I wonder where they all went. I had a whole box of them here. There they are. This is a mount that's designed to stick into the wall, and then you can actually hold a bike up in the air up to 45 pounds. We're not going to hold this bike up in the air. We're just going to hold it stable. So we're just going to mount it against the wall. The tires are going to rest on the ground, and this will just help hold it in place. Alright, so this is the wheel chock. So this also has to get assembled. So let's work on that right now. I don't see any hardware.
I'm going to assume that the hardware is hidden in here somewhere. There it is. Alrighty. Let's go over to the other table and start working on this. I don't think I need any of this stuff. Maybe this. Maybe this. Okay, so for now, that's what it's going to look like. And then this is going to go mounted on the floor. Screws there, into the floor. I'm going to need longer self-tapping screws because the ones I got are too short. But that's okay. I just need this on the floor right now so I can gauge where the tires are going to sit. Okay. I guess I didn't need all this stuff. What I do need is a drink of water because it is brutal. Alright, so roughly there is where it's going to go. I have no idea if you can see this or not. Right there. Roughly there is where it's going to go. So let's start putting some holes in. Even the screws are hot, and they ain't even been sitting in the sun. They're just hot from sitting in the... It's 124 degrees in here, guys. That is crazy. Sweatsville. Starting already. I'll try to keep it even with that line so when I put the mount in, it's not all cockeyed. Of course, that will not keep it even with the line by doing that. Alright, I have no idea what you were able to see of that because I can't see where the camera's pointing. So hopefully in the playbacks I'll be able to see what the hell everything looks good. Of course I'm just rambling now. So that's what you do when it's hot out. You ramble when your brain starts to boil. This is so much easier with this drill as opposed to the little handheld drill I was using for the other side of the bus to put the bathroom together. Alrighty, that puppy is in. Now let's go put the bracket on and see how it works. Hopefully you can see this. I have no idea what you can see. This is probably not working out so good. Alrighty, get an idea what you can see. Okay, so there's the bike sitting up with the chalk there. I can mount the chalk right about there, and that'll help hold it. Alrighty, I'm not too depressed about that. I think that could work. I like it right about there. There's enough room to move it. I can still put a battery charging station right around here. Alrighty, I think this could work. Well, there it is in. Got that bracket mounted to the wall. That holds the frame. I got a wheel chock to the floor, and then I'll put maybe some cable ties or something through there to help hold the back wheel into that chock. So if there's any emergency braking, the bike won't fly forward, and maybe the momentum won't rip that arm out of the wall, but it shouldn't. I think everything's in there pretty solid. But I now have a shuttlecraft mounted in the bus. So when I go places, I can actually have a means to go into town without having to drive and trying to find a parking for a 40-foot bus. I can go to the whatever spot I choose, boondocking spot, camp spot, or whatever, Walmart parking lot, and just park the bus and then take this thing out and go places. So yay. So how cool is that? Another project done. I think I'm going to put like little, again, over here, I'm going to put a cabinet, electrical cabinet, so I'll have the batteries and the solder and everything running in there. Over here, I'll take one of those magnetic shelves and I'll put it up there, and I'll keep the tire inflator and little toolkit and stuff there. Maybe little rags to wipe the bike down with every time I come back. That kind of thing. Or put it on the back wall here, maybe. Something magnetic. So I can reach inside while I'm standing outside. I can reach inside and grab something. But, yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was a big build-up. I need to get it done, The worst part about it was getting the bike down here, because I had to load it into the back of the battle wagon. And I had to wait for a day when I was actually clear of stuff and free of time, and then get it down here so I can make sure I was measuring stuff correctly. And it worked. It's cool. So we got a bathroom and sink and everything, and shower on one side. The other side is our garage, transportation, stuff like that. And there we go. Cool. I have no idea what the next project is. Hopefully it's just hit the road. Now that this is in, I think I got that done. All this other stuff I can do while I'm on the road. So I think hitting the road. Get the tires aired up again. check all the fluids. I should have a full tank of fuel, if not like over 3/4. It'd be more than enough to get me somewhere for a weekend or a long weekend. Get this thing out on the road, clean up all this garbage. Just get it out. Alright, I think there's a little bit of added extra security. I am going to install a D-ring in the wall right about here, just to have another contact point to tie stuff off to for this. This right here. So I think right around here. This way I can make sure that the bike doesn't go anywhere. And for that I need some screws still. Still need some more screws. So join me on the journey to the screw pile, which is over here. Gotta do this build in stages as the camera keeps overheating. Is it crazy that these screws are freaking hot to the touch, and they're not in the sunlight? Can't do that, can I? So I can't get the D-ring in. So how do I want it? This way? This way or this way? This way or this way? I don't think it matters. Let's do this way. It's at least even. Okay, let's put another screw in. Hey, that's cool. A little D-ring there to help hold things. Put a little strap from there to the bike when it's up there and parked.